13 signs your aura scares people without you knowing. As Carl Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. What if the energy you carry is not just powerful, but unsettling to those who haven't met their true selves yet? In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we'll explore 13 subtle yet profound signs your aura might be intimidating others without you even realizing it. These insights aren't meant to make you shrink. They're here to help you grow, embrace your presence, and step fully into your spiritual power. Have you ever noticed people pulling away for no clear reason? Comment below with your experience, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the deep spiritual truths we uncover here. Sign 1. People say you're too intense. They say you're too intense. But what they really mean is that you're too real for a world that thrives on surface-level comfort and emotional avoidance. Your words carry truth, and that truth is like a spotlight. It reveals what others are not ready to see. You don't sugarcoat. You don't perform. You speak with purpose, and that purpose slices through pretenses. When people say you're too serious, it's because your presence exposes the masks they wear. It's not your fault that your energy unsettles them. It's their discomfort with their own shadows. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." Your presence forces them to do just that. Without even trying, your aura becomes a mirror reflecting the fears, insecurities, and emotional debris others work so hard to hide. And in a world addicted to distractions, your grounded clarity can feel like a silent confrontation. You're not angry. You're not loud, but you're real. And real is rare. Real pierces the veil. Real feels like a truth too sharp for those who have only ever known emotional dullness. You don't play along with the shallow. You don't feed the drama. You walk away from gossip. You ask questions that hit the heart. Your aura challenges, not because it wants to dominate, but because it cannot pretend. People sense that. They feel the weight of your awareness and shrink not because you're dangerous, but because your energy demands authenticity in a world that rewards the fake. The more healed you become, the more uncomfortable others get. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your boundaries reveal their lack of them. Your depth confronts their avoidance. Like the woman at work who everyone labels as too much, too quiet, too focused, too hard to approach. But she's simply someone who's done the inner work. She holds eye contact without flinching. She speaks slowly, but with power. She doesn't fill silence just to be liked. And without ever raising her voice, she shifts the entire dynamic of a room. That's what happens when someone lives in alignment with their inner truth. Her aura isn't loud, it's steady, certain, and unapologetically clear. And that clarity feels threatening to those still hiding behind emotional noise. Carl Jung taught that the process of individuation, becoming whole, requires facing the parts of ourselves we'd rather keep buried. You've faced them. That's why you no longer chase approval. That's why you no longer abandon your instincts to fit in. You've stopped performing and started living. And the people around you, even if they don't understand it, feel that shift. They don't fear you. They fear what you awaken inside them. And so they whisper, avoid, project, or retreat, not because you are wrong, but because your energy holds a mirror to their fragmentation. Your aura does not scare people. It scares the illusions they built to feel safe. It shakes the false security of emotional masks. It calls out to the part of them that still wants to be whole. And while many will walk away, some will wake up because of your presence, your intensity, your unwillingness to be anything less than authentic. This is not a weakness. This is spiritual strength. This is the embodiment of Carl Jung's wisdom, alive in you, radiating through you. Have people ever told you you're too intense or too deep? If so, share your experience in the comments so others know they're not alone. If not, comment, "I embrace my depth," to affirm your truth and inspire others to do the same. Sign 2. Small talk drains you. You find small talk draining not because you're rude, but because your spirit is wired for depth. Superficial conversations feel like noise in your nervous system, while others may find comfort in light chatter about the weather or weekend plans. You often feel like you're floating outside the room, disconnected, waiting for someone to speak from the heart. Carl Jung believed that those who are deeply connected to their unconscious are repelled by inauthenticity. That's exactly what's happening to you. Your aura doesn't just respond to energy, it filters it. It pulls in what's real and silently rejects what feels false. And when someone's words don't match their energy, your body knows. You feel it like static in your field. You might try to stay polite, but inside, you're already withdrawing. Your presence carries a quiet intensity that others can't always name but often react to. You don't have to say a word for people to sense that you're not here for masks, performance, or pretense. Your aura speaks louder than your voice. It tells the truth, even when your mouth is silent. That's why people might feel uncomfortable around you without knowing why. You're not judging them, but your energy reflects something back to them, the parts of themselves they've buried or chosen to ignore. When your frequency calls for authenticity, it makes those still hiding feel seen, and sometimes that feels threatening. It's easier for them to label you as too serious or too intense than to admit they're unsettled by how deeply you see. This creates tension in casual environments. Social norms expect lightness, but your soul speaks a different language. It listens for the unsaid, searches for the real, and quietly waits for connection that doesn't waste time. You're not just looking for conversation, you're looking for communion. This hunger, this pull for something that feeds your spirit, radiates from your aura. It makes people shift in their seats. It makes them fumble their words. It makes them question their stories. Not because you're intimidating, but because your presence awakens something ancient within them, their forgotten truth. Even in silence, your energy has weight. The way you hold eye contact, the way you listen deeply, the way you speak with intention, all of it tells others that you are fully present. In a world running on autopilot, that kind of presence is rare, and rare things often scare people before they inspire them. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be real, to hold the vibration of truth, even when it disrupts comfort. That is the essence of spiritual wisdom. You live in a way that makes others remember who they are, and that remembrance can feel like both a blessing and a confrontation. Do shallow conversations leave you feeling empty? If you crave depth and real connection, comment below. I choose depth to affirm your path toward authentic living. Let's grow together in truth. Sign 3. You attract emotional confessions. People often open up to you without warning. Strangers, friends, even those you've barely met. They spill secrets, share heartbreaks, reveal wounds they've kept hidden for years. You don't ask for it, but it happens again and again. That's because your presence feels safe. There's something in your silence that whispers, "I won't judge you." Your energy doesn't demand attention. It invites surrender. This is not about charm or charisma. It's deeper. You carry the quiet presence of someone who has seen pain and still chooses to love. You radiate the energy of a healer, not because you fix others, but because you feel them. Your aura doesn't just comfort, it uncovers. And that makes people confess what they've never said out loud, even to themselves. But while others leave feeling lighter, you are often left carrying what they poured into you. You absorb, you transmute, but you are rarely seen. People come to you for emotional rescue, not emotional reciprocity. It creates a strange ache, emotional loneliness, surrounded by emotional intensity. You are everyone's safe place, yet few feel like home to you. This is the unseen weight of having a powerful, magnetic aura. It draws people in, but it doesn't guarantee that they'll stay or see you clearly. Carl Jung spoke of the unconscious being mirrored back through our interactions with others. Your presence acts like that mirror. It reflects back the truth sometimes too clearly. People don't fear you. They fear what you awaken in them. They fear their own suppressed feelings, unspoken pain, unresolved stories. And because your energy triggers that awakening, they may pull away once the confessions are over. You leave them raw, honest, and terrified of that honesty. So they distance themselves, not because you are too much, but because you are real. This is a core part of the spiritual awakening process. You begin to understand that your role is not to be everything for everyone. Your energy has value not because it makes others feel good, but because it makes them feel truth. That's rare. That's sacred. And yes, that can be lonely. Your aura is a force field of deep emotional gravity. It calls to the soul, not the surface. And people who live on the surface often don't know what to do with someone like you. They talk, you listen, they cry, you hold, they leave, you heal in silence. But your energy leaves an imprint. Even when they don't say thank you, even when they walk away, something in them has changed. Because they met you. Because your soul reminded theirs what truth feels like. This is not a burden. It's a path. And it's part of the reason why you are here. You are not broken for being the one people turn to and yet never fully see. You are simply becoming someone who embodies spiritual awakening in a world still learning how to feel. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your experience in the comments below. Let's continue uncovering the deeper layers of emotional connection together. Sign 4. People avoid eye contact. When you hold someone's gaze, something shifts. Their eyes dart away. Their shoulders stiffen. Their voice hesitates. You're not being aggressive. You're not even saying much, but your energy speaks volumes. Your gaze doesn't just see the surface. It reflects what they're hiding, what they don't want to face. Carl Jung described this as a psychic encounter, a moment when your depth brushes against their unconscious, triggering a reaction they themselves may not fully understand. This discomfort isn't about you. It's about what you awaken in them. Most people avoid their own shadows. They suppress their pain, mask their insecurities, and decorate their wounds with false confidence. But you've faced your darkness. You've done the emotional labor most people fear. And that work radiates from you, silently. It's in the way you sit still in chaos, the way you listen without judgment, the way your eyes don't flinch from truth. That's what makes your aura so intense. You're not threatening, you're a mirror. And when others look at you, they see themselves. Not the version they want to present, but the raw, unfiltered truth underneath the performance. There's a reason people avoid eye contact with those who carry spiritual gravity. It's not rudeness, it's not awkwardness, it's defense. Your presence stirs the unconscious. You activate their buried emotions, their unresolved trauma, their self-deception. Even without speaking, your aura communicates, and what it says is, I see beyond your mask. Most aren't ready for that. Jung taught that wholeness demands we accept both light and shadow. You've stepped into that wholeness, and now your very being confronts others with the fact that they haven't. It happens in the office, in a cafe, during a first date. Someone can't hold your gaze for more than a few seconds before shifting, laughing nervously, or finding a distraction. They feel naked in your presence, and they don't know why. You might start wondering, is something wrong with me? But nothing is wrong. You are carrying clarity in a foggy world, and people aren't afraid of you. They're afraid of what you represent. Truth, depth, alignment. You embody what they avoid. You've likely been called too serious or intense. But intensity isn't a flaw when it comes from integrity. You're simply no longer playing small to make others feel safe. And that is what spiritual awakening looks like. You've reclaimed your energy. You've stopped watering yourself down. And even though it makes someone comfortable, it calls the right ones closer. The ones ready to awaken too. The ones who don't flinch, who meet your gaze and say, I see you too. Let them look away. Let them fumble. Your energy is doing what it's meant to do. Reflect, reveal, realign. That's not something to apologize for. That's spiritual power. That's the work of someone who's done the inner integration Carl Jung spoke of, not just reading about growth, but becoming it. And in doing so, you're not just changing yourself. You're silently challenging the world to wake up. Do people avoid your gaze too? If this message resonates, comment, I've seen it below to share your experience and connect with others who feel the same. Sign 5. Your presence triggers reactions. Even when you say nothing, people react. You may notice how they grow tense, how their tone shifts, how the air gets heavier the moment you step into the room. It's not because of what you do, but because of what you carry, an aura that holds truth, depth, and spiritual wisdom. Your presence becomes a mirror that reflects what others try to hide from themselves. In your silence, they hear echoes of their own unresolved emotions. In your gaze, they sense a confrontation they weren't prepared for. You don't seek to expose anyone, yet they feel exposed around you. It's the way you notice the little things, the way someone hesitates, the way their energy flickers when they lie, the subtle emotion they try to mask with a smile. Without saying a word, you see past the surface, and that can be terrifying for those who've built entire identities on illusions. Carl Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And when they meet someone like you, someone who lives from their soul, it rattles them. They start to question their own masks, their choices, their truth. Your energy is intense, because it's authentic. And authenticity, in a world obsessed with performance, is disruptive. You don't play roles to fit in, and you don't dilute your essence to make others comfortable. That kind of presence is not just rare, it's magnetic and confronting. Some are drawn to it because they're ready to grow. Others recoil because they're not. But either way, you leave an imprint. You challenge the norm just by being fully yourself. Your silence often says more than other people's noise. In conversations, you're not interested in small talk. You crave substance. You listen with intent. You ask questions that pierce through pretense. You don't just hear words, you hear the truth behind them. And when people feel truly heard for the first time, it either opens their heart or scares them into retreat. You operate on a different frequency, one where truth, emotional depth, and spiritual awakening are the standard, not the exception. You hold your energy in a way that's deeply self-contained. You're not dependent on validation or praise, and that, in itself, is threatening to those who thrive on approval. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not distant, you're discerning. You don't need to explain yourself because your energy speaks before you do. People who are not yet grounded in themselves often misinterpret this as arrogance, but it's really sovereignty. Your boundaries are spiritual, not just emotional. And most of all, your presence awakens what is dormant in others. Not intentionally, but inevitably. When someone stands in the light long enough, they start to notice their own shadows. That's what happens around you. You don't try to fix people or change them. You simply embody what it means to live awake, and that alone is powerful. Some will feel seen, others will feel threatened, but none will forget you. Because a powerful aura doesn't demand attention, it transforms space. It shifts frequency. It brings truth to the surface. And whether they love you or fear you, one thing remains. Your spiritual wisdom leaves no one untouched. Does your presence seem to stir something in others without you saying a word? If this resonates, comment, "I agree" below. If you see it differently, feel free to share your thoughts with, "I don't think so." Let's explore this reflection together. Sign 6. You can't tolerate fake personas. You can't tolerate fake personas, not because you're cold or critical, but because your soul is aligned with truth. Your energy doesn't entertain superficial performances. The moment someone walks into your presence wearing a mask, pretending to be someone they're not, your aura senses it before a word is even spoken. You don't have to call it out. The energy does the work. It says, "Be real," or "Step away." This quiet demand for authenticity unsettles those who have spent their lives building identities rooted in performance. They may not know why they feel nervous, tense, or exposed around you, but they do. You've gone through a spiritual awakening that has stripped away your own illusions, forcing you to rebuild from the inside out. That process carved a deeper sensitivity into you, a radar for truth, and a rejection of anything less. Carl Jung once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." You have done the inner work, and now your aura stands as a silent force. Those who have not done the same inner work often mistake your energy for aggression or superiority. But you're not trying to dominate. You simply refuse to shrink. People who depend on fake personas feel exposed in your presence because your energy reflects their emotional contradictions. They sense the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be, and that recognition is deeply uncomfortable. For someone who has never learned to sit with their own soul, being around you feels like emotional turbulence. You may find that some pull away, gossip, or label you as too intense, but what they're really reacting to is the clarity you hold. You are a walking invitation to be real, and for many, that's a confrontation they're not ready for. This clarity didn't come from comfort. It was forged in silence, solitude, and sacred pain. You've spent nights in reflection, questioning your place in the world, only to find that your authenticity was never the problem people's comfort with mediocrity was. Now, you are no longer interested in fitting into spaces that reward conformity. You crave alignment. You protect your peace. You value real over relatable. You would rather stand alone in your truth than surround yourself with those who applaud your performance but reject your soul. Your presence is not for everyone, and that's the point. You are not here to make others comfortable. You're here to bring light. And light, by nature, reveals. So keep shining. Keep seeing. Keep trusting what your aura already knows. Comment below. I choose authenticity if you're done tolerating fake energy and ready to stand in your truth. Sign 7. You make people second-guess themselves. You don't destabilize people intentionally. Your presence simply holds a clarity that penetrates the surface. When you ask deep questions, they're not rhetorical or casual. They're the kind of questions that confront illusions, challenge conditioning, and interrupt the comfort of ego-based thinking. People feel unsettled not because you're loud or forceful, but because your words carry the sharpness of truth. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your aura, shaped by this inner clarity, naturally disrupts unconscious patterns in others, forcing them to question the very foundations they've been standing on. This isn't about arrogance or superiority. In fact, it's your humility, your willingness to question yourself first, that sharpens your insight. You've done the inner work. You've sat in the dark with your own chaos. So now, when you speak with certainty, people feel it. They sense that you're not just guessing or parroting ideas, you're speaking from hard-won truth. And because most people haven't faced themselves with that level of honesty, your presence becomes a silent confrontation. In real life, this can play out in subtle, almost invisible ways. You walk into a room, and conversations shift. Jokes fall flat. People avoid eye contact. It's not that they dislike you. It's that you make them aware of their own disconnection. A friend might suddenly grow distant after a conversation with you, not because you judge them, but because something you said triggered self-reflection they weren't ready for. Your energy stirs the unconscious, and many would rather blame the mirror than face what it reveals. Take, for example, a woman in a group chat who challenges the common narrative everyone is agreeing with. She does it kindly, logically, without aggression. But soon after, she's labeled difficult or negative. What really happened? Her perspective forced others to confront contradictions in their own thinking, and instead of gratitude, they retreat. They gossip. They create distance. This is what Carl Jung described when he said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But not everyone is ready for that journey. And so, your spiritual wisdom becomes a quiet storm, never meant to harm, only to awaken. You are not here to make people comfortable. You are here to embody truth. And in a society built on appearances, that makes you rare. Your aura carries the residue of inner work, and that makes others doubt their outer performances. They may not say it, but they feel it. They shrink, not because you diminish them, but because they haven't yet remembered their own light. And until they do, your presence will feel overwhelming. Still, do not shrink. Do not dilute your voice or your presence to make others feel safe in their illusions. The clarity you carry is sacred. It may trigger resistance at first, but over time, it becomes the very seed of transformation. You carry the frequency of awakening, and those who are ready will feel drawn to it, not because you preach, but because you are. You live what others only speak about, and that is why, in the quiet moments after you leave the room, people think about what you said. They question what they've believed. And maybe, just maybe, they begin to wake up. If this message made you reflect deeper, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss content that challenges your thinking and elevates your awareness. Comment below. I embrace truth over illusion to affirm your journey toward clarity and inner strength. Sign 8. People open up, then pull away. They feel safe with you at first. Something about your presence disarms their usual defenses. They begin to speak, revealing pain, memories, secrets they haven't told anyone in years. You don't even have to pry. Just your way of listening, your steady gaze, your stillness makes them feel like they're finally being seen. It feels healing. But then, just as suddenly, they disappear. They stop replying. They ghost you. And you're left wondering why something that felt so genuine could vanish without warning. But this isn't rejection. This is resistance. On a deeper, soul level, your aura unveiled something in them they weren't ready to face. You didn't push. Your energy simply reflected. Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And when your presence acts as a spiritual mirror, revealing what they've buried beneath distraction and denial, it can trigger fear. Fear of self, fear of truth, fear of change. Your aura speaks even when your mouth stays quiet. You don't just listen, you receive. You hold space. And in that space, people begin to feel vulnerable. Not because you demand it, but because your energy carries a frequency of emotional truth. You see beyond the mask, and they know it. That knowing can be terrifying for someone who's only ever survived by hiding. Your spiritual wisdom doesn't just offer comfort, it awakens. An awakening is not always soft. Sometimes it burns. This plays out everywhere in love, friendships, even casual interactions. People gravitate toward your calm, your depth, your honesty. They say they feel safe, that you get them. They might even say, you feel familiar, like home. But safety isn't always soothing. When it comes with transparency, it strips away their armor. And if they aren't ready to face what's beneath, they pull away to avoid unraveling. A man once told you that you made him feel more understood in 2 weeks than his past relationships ever had. He cried in your arms and opened his heart, then left without warning. What happened? He looked in the mirror you held up and saw his pain. Not everyone is prepared to heal. Many are still attached to the stories they tell themselves. And when your presence begins rewriting that narrative, it scares them. Because now they can't go back to pretending they're fine. Your aura isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet, but undeniable. It touches wounds they've forgotten, emotions they've numbed. You remind people of what they've neglected inside themselves. And that makes you magnetic and threatening. Not because you harm, but because your energy doesn't let them lie to themselves anymore. This is the cost of carrying light. Your spiritual wisdom makes people feel, and feeling is uncomfortable when you've spent years running from it. So don't take their distance personally. It's not that you're too much, it's that you bring too much truth. Keep being that mirror. Keep holding that space. The right souls will recognize your light, not as something to fear, but as something that sets them free. Have you experienced this before? If this resonates with you, declare it in the comments. My presence reveals truth, even when they're not ready. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to keep walking in your spiritual power. Sign 9. You intimidate authority figures. You don't need to speak loudly or assert control to command attention. Your presence alone carries authority. People in positions of power sense something about you that unsettles them. It's not defiance or rebellion. It's the unmistakable energy of inner sovereignty. You carry yourself like someone who cannot be bought, manipulated, or intimidated, and that alone shakes the foundations of those who rely on fear or dominance to feel in control. They don't know what to make of you. You're calm, composed, and deeply grounded. You don't chase approval, and you don't fear rejection. Your silence speaks louder than their shouting. They try to measure you through the usual metrics: obedience, conformity, submission, but none of it sticks. You are not playing their game, and that makes them uncomfortable, because deep down, they know they are. You become a mirror, silently reflecting the truth they've tried to avoid. That true power has nothing to do with position and everything to do with presence. You see through illusions. You sense when someone is leading from ego, and you don't shrink yourself just to make them feel bigger. Your questions penetrate beyond surface-level small talk. Your gaze feels like X-ray vision. People in authority are used to being admired, feared, or followed, but around you, they feel transparent. It's not because you're trying to expose them. It's because you've already exposed yourself to the depths of your own soul. That's what happens when you've gone through a spiritual awakening. You emerge with an energy that cannot be controlled, because it no longer seeks anything outside of truth. That's why you intimidate without even trying. It's not in your words, it's in your aura. A frequency that doesn't bow to titles, a vibration that refuses to submit to false power. And because you move differently, people in charge begin to question their own strength. They realize that their authority only works on those still asleep. But you're awake. You've faced your shadow, reclaimed your light, and stepped into alignment with your deeper self. That's the root of your unshakable calm. And that's what authority figures don't understand. They can't manipulate you because you've already met manipulation and chose to walk away. They can't pressure you because you've lived through storms and learned to stand still in chaos. You don't react, you respond. You don't obey, you listen, you discern. And when something doesn't resonate with your soul, you walk away. That scares them because it reminds them of the freedom they never gave themselves permission to have. So no, you're not disrespectful. You're not difficult. You're simply awake. And in a world that feeds on control and performance, your spiritual awakening makes you the rarest kind of presence, one that commands respect without ever asking for it. Have you ever noticed how your calm confidence unsettles those in control? If this resonates with you, share your story in the comments so others can feel seen too. If not yet, comment, "I own my inner power to step boldly into your sovereignty today." Sign 10. You're often made the villain. Your self-respect, your silence, your honesty aren't flaws. But to others, especially those who haven't confronted their own inner chaos, these very traits can feel like threats. Without you doing anything wrong, you are often misunderstood. You walk into a space and suddenly become the villain in someone else's narrative. Not because you hurt anyone, but because your grounded presence disturbs what is unsettled in them. What they call arrogance is just your dignity. What they interpret as rejection is simply your boundaries. And what they label as too much is just your unwillingness to perform or conform. Carl Jung called this projection the unconscious act of casting your own disowned traits onto another person. He said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But most people aren't ready to look within. So when you walk in with calm energy and quiet self-assurance, they feel exposed. Your truth reflects their denial. Your strength reminds them of where they feel weak. Your clarity threatens the comfort of their confusion. And instead of facing their shadows, they turn you into the problem. In the modern world, especially in environments dominated by surface-level connections, your spiritual depth can unsettle people. You don't engage in gossip. You don't fake smiles. You don't laugh just to fit in. You listen more than you speak. And when you speak, it's with intention. This kind of integrity, this aura of inner alignment is powerful. But to someone who thrives in superficiality, it feels intimidating. They don't know how to place you, so they label you, misread you, distance themselves from you, not because you're dangerous, but because you challenge them without trying. There's a kind of spiritual awakening that shifts your whole energy. It's not about appearing enlightened or wise. It's about embodying truth so deeply that your very presence confronts illusion. You no longer chase validation. You don't explain yourself unnecessarily. You understand that not everyone deserves access to your energy. And that scares people who are used to energetic availability without boundaries. They call it coldness, but it's clarity. They say you've changed, but what they mean is you've stopped being who they needed you to be. In reality, it's not your aura that's frightening. It's what your aura reflects. Your vibration holds a mirror to other people's unresolved emotions. You don't need to expose them. Your existence does it. And while this may lead to discomfort, isolation, or judgment, it's also the very sign that you're no longer operating on their frequency. You've elevated beyond small talk, beyond emotional manipulation, beyond social masks. You've become someone who sees clearly, and that kind of vision is rare and unsettling. So when people twist your self-worth into ego, your stillness into aloofness, or your discernment into judgment, remember, this isn't your burden to carry. This is the cost of being deeply in tune. Carl Jung understood this paradox: the more integrated you become, the more dissonance you create in those who are fragmented. But this isn't something to fear. It's confirmation that you're on the right path, living from a place of inner truth. Let them feel what they need to feel. You were never meant to stay small, just so others could stay comfortable. Sign 11. Strangers are drawn to you. You radiate a numinous, soul-level presence that feels ancient, something sacred that people can't explain but are instinctively drawn to. Strangers find themselves opening up to you without understanding why. It's as if your energy speaks a language their soul remembers. You don't ask for confessions, but they arrive anyway. Stories, secrets, raw emotions offered to you like offerings to a silent temple. You listen not just with your ears, but with your being. Your presence becomes a space of safety. People sense your depth, and even if they can't articulate it, they trust it. But what they feel is not just kindness or warmth. It's a profound spiritual wisdom. You reflect a truth that is hard to ignore. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." That's what you do to people. You make them look inward, whether they're ready or not. Your aura doesn't just soothe, it awakens. An awakening, though beautiful, is not always comfortable. That's why some people may pull away from you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you mirror what they're not yet ready to see within themselves. There's an intensity about you that goes beyond personality. You ask questions that crack the surface. You listen in ways that make people feel truly seen. When you speak, it's not small talk, it's substance. When you look into someone's eyes, it feels like you see through the masks. This isn't something you control or even try to do. It's simply who you are. And that's what unsettles others. It's not your words, it's your energy. You don't fit the mold because you were never meant to. The paradox is that while your aura draws people in, it also intimidates. There's a quiet power in you that doesn't need to prove itself. You're not loud, but you're undeniable. Your mere presence can shift the mood in a room. Some people admire you for it, while others resent you. Some will misunderstand you, avoid you, even gossip about you not because they know you, but because they feel challenged by what you represent. They feel their own insecurities rise in your presence, and instead of facing them, they blame you. Still, you remain anchored in your truth. You don't try to change people, but your energy often becomes the catalyst for their transformation. That's the weight and the gift of carrying spiritual wisdom. You awaken others not by preaching, but simply by being. And that kind of influence is rare. It can't be faked. It can't be taught. It's something your soul has remembered lifetime after lifetime. So when you wonder why people behave strangely around you, why they're drawn to you, yet keep their distance, know that it's not personal. It's energetic. You are not too much. You are simply tuned into something deeper, something real. And not everyone is ready for that depth. But those who are, they will recognize you immediately. Not by what you say, but by the light you carry. If this message resonates with your spirit, comment below. My soul carries ancient light, and others are drawn to its truth. Let us know if you've experienced this, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more soul-aligned insights. Sign 12. You feel room energy instantly. You have a way of walking into a room and knowing exactly what's going on without anyone saying a word. It's not just a feeling, it's certainty. The smiles, the silence, the subtle tension in the air, you sense it all instantly. You're not just picking up on people's moods. You're absorbing the truth that others try to hide. Whether it's deception behind a polite laugh or sadness veiled by a cheerful tone, your energy picks up what's real, not just what's shown. This sensitivity is not a weakness. It's one of the strongest signs of a deep spiritual awakening. It means your aura is awake, alert, and highly responsive to energy, far more than most people realize. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This quote fits you perfectly. What others suppress or ignore, you feel clearly. The emotions unspoken in a room, the energetic heaviness, the silent grief, they land in your nervous system like waves hitting the shore. It can feel like a burden, especially when you haven't learned how to protect yourself from emotional overload. But this ability is not random. It's a gift from a deeper intelligence inside you, something ancient and intuitive, connected to the invisible layers of the world around you. People don't always understand this about you. They might say you're too intense, too emotional, or that you're imagining things. But deep down, you know what you feel is real. When someone's words don't match their energy, you catch the dissonance. When a room is filled with passive-aggressive smiles, you're the one who notices the emotional undercurrent. And while others brush it off, it lingers in your body like residue. This is why you often feel exhausted after social situations. Your aura has been doing the work of reading, interpreting, and sometimes even healing the energy of others without your permission. That's why grounding practices matter so much for someone like you. Meditation, solitude, breath work, journaling. These aren't just spiritual trends. They're lifelines for energetic beings. They help you clear out what isn't yours and reclaim your own frequency. Without that intentional cleansing, your powerful aura becomes a sponge, soaking up everything in its environment until you lose sight of where others end and you begin. Your aura has presence. It demands truth. And because of that, it can intimidate people who are not ready to confront their own shadows. You don't even have to speak for people to feel exposed in your presence. Your energy reflects back their masks, and that can make them uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your very being challenges them to be honest with themselves. This is the kind of spiritual wisdom that only comes from deep inner work. You've earned your perception. You've felt your way through emotional chaos, grown stronger through silent knowing, and learned to trust what can't be explained. You're not just someone who feels deeply. You're someone whose aura carries depth, clarity, and truth, and that will always be a little too much for people still hiding from their own. Sign 13. You've always felt not of this world. Since you were young, you've carried a quiet awareness that you are not like most people. There was a sense of being out of place, not just in your school, your family, or your community, but in the entire world. While others were laughing and playing without a care, you were watching, observing, wondering about things most people your age never thought about. You felt older than your years, not because of trauma necessarily, but because of a deep spiritual imprint that marked you for something more. Carl Jung believed that such feelings point to an inner journey, a calling toward wholeness, a sacred path the soul chooses when it is ready to awaken. You were never meant to blend in. Instead of trying to impress others, you were quietly listening to life itself. You noticed energy shifts in the room. You could feel people's pain even if they smiled. You asked questions no one had answers to. The world often tried to label you too quiet, too intense, too sensitive. But what they couldn't see is that you were carrying an aura that vibrated at a different frequency. Jung called this the path of individuation, the sacred unraveling of the masks we wear so we can become our truest selves. Your difference wasn't a flaw, it was the seed of transformation. And as you grew older, that invisible energy only intensified. You became the person others came to for guidance, but they didn't always stay. Friends vanished after you helped them through their darkest seasons. Some pulled away without explanation. You've walked into rooms and felt the air change, conversations stop, eyes glance away, laughter fade. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence demanded truth. Your aura challenges others, not with words, but with silent honesty. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." And that is precisely why your energy unsettles people. It forces them to confront what they avoid. You don't need to speak much. Your stillness speaks louder than noise. Your gaze makes people feel seen in a way they weren't ready for. You're not trying to intimidate anyone, but your energy acts like a mirror, revealing what's hidden. That's why some avoid you. That's why some gossip behind your back. It's not about who you are, it's about what you reflect. They're not afraid of you. They're afraid of themselves in your presence. You trigger the parts of them they've long buried, and without realizing it, your spiritual vibration disrupts the illusions they cling to. In today's world, you may find yourself misunderstood, especially in shallow or noisy spaces where depth feels threatening. Maybe a coworker avoids speaking to you because your silence feels like judgment. Or maybe an old friend distances themselves because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. These are not signs that you are doing something wrong. These are signs that your light is strong. People don't run from darkness. They run from the light when their eyes haven't adjusted yet. Carl Jung believed that people fear their own potential more than they fear failure. And when you carry the aura of someone who is deeply awake, you embody that potential. Your energy whispers to others, you can be more. But not everyone is ready to hear that. Some will try to dim you. Others will try to misunderstand you. But the truth is, your aura is not here to be liked. It's here to be felt. It's here to shift energy, awaken truth, and guide others, even if that means doing so from a distance. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to carry the weight of awareness and the responsibility of light. Not everyone will walk with you. Not everyone will understand you. But those who are ready will recognize you not by your words, but by your energy. That is the quiet power of someone walking the path. Carl Jung spoke of the path of self-realization, where your mere presence becomes the medicine, even if it burns before it heals. To affirm your soul's journey and the wisdom you've carried since childhood, comment below, "I was born for this path." Your words may be the light that helps someone else feel less alone in their awakening. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on the power of your presence. Your energy speaks louder than words, and sometimes it unsettles those who aren't ready to face their own shadows. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like, share it with someone who might need this truth, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos on Carl Jung, aura energy, and the deep journey of spiritual awakening. Stay radiant, and remember, your light isn't meant to be dimmed.